And we're live. Hello and welcome to the Business Octopus. We generally talk about all things sales, marketing, and technology, and like business growth and things like that. But today we're going to talk a little bit about, there's a saying like new levels, new devils, and different stages of growth require different things. So hopefully we'll touch on some of those, and you'll get an idea of, what you should be focusing on different phases. How you going this morning, Amanda?
Fabulous. I'm really excited for this episode because I don't think it gets talked about enough. It's just things that you stumble into. You create, like you said, new levels, new devils. You create all of these new problems and you don't know how to solve them because you're so used to doing things a very particular way. You'll find a rhythm, you'll find systems and processes, and then you make that next, say, revenue goal or that next stretch in the business, and you're like, okay, hit a ceiling. I don't know what to do next to get to the next thing. So yes, very important topic today, viewers at home.
Well, I think sometimes, you get, there's a term, single issue zealots. There's people that just have this one thing and that's their mode. Like, yes, I get it. You've got to have one thing, one clear message to sell. But sometimes it's like when you've got a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So sometimes people beat the drum of needing one particular thing. But the truth is, all businesses need all things, and they just need a different focus at different stages. Like everybody needs a way to, find customers, attract and retain, then deal with their team, deal with suppliers, deal with, like equipment and things and legals and financials. Like there's just a lot of things, and everything has to kind of like increase at the similar rate. Like if you go too hard in sales, then you'll break your system because now you can't actually deliver what you've sold. Or if you overinvest in delivery, then and you haven't done anything in sales, now you've got a heap of costs and nothing down the pipeline. So it all kind of has to march up together. But I still think there are like key focuses at each phase, and we've kind of, like in our community, we've built out a bit of a structure to kind of help follow that. So I think maybe if we start in the progression. So the first one is launch. You've started, or maybe you haven't started yet. You've got an idea. You work in a corporate job. You need to get, you need to test your model, test your idea, test your pitch, test your business name. You've got to figure out if this is something that people actually want. And so that launch phase is, I guess, is very high risk. People have to test and try and fail a lot. I've had plenty of people come up to me and say, I've got the most amazing business idea. It's going to be the best thing since sliced bread. And I want you on board to do this and that. And then you've got to be creative with the resources. People ask me, they're like, I will give you equity. I'm like, 50% of nothing is still nothing. So, we need to, if I think the idea's got legs, maybe we consider it, but we also need to think about what have they done? What are they bringing to the table? It's probably more about the people, like the founder themselves, if you're going to get anything done. I know what
on that, Avon. What do you look for then in a founder? Like what magic do they have, or what secret sauce do they have which tells you they've got what it takes to go the distance?
Very curious and not up their own ass. Like
love that. Yes.
They have to be like, well, I tried this and it didn't work, and I tried that and it didn't work. But they're okay with it. And it's not like this is the best. People are gonna buy this. This is amazing, and everybody's gonna want it. Like, no, that's not the case. You need to prove. I would say go on threes. Like sometimes I won't work with. I'll get to a certain point and I'll go, I'm not doing anything else with you until you make 3 sales. You know what I'm talking about with this one, but
I've heard this one before. Yeah.
So if I say, you need to build this, you need to build that, you need to build that, and they're like, oh, but we should also build this, and they keep adding to the to-do list. But it's like, until we get past that 3rd sale threshold with people that are not related to you and not your friends, there is absolutely no point in continuing, because once is whatever, second time is a coincidence, third time is a trend. Now we have evidence to say that this is something that has legs and will get off the ground. And once someone done the hard work in order to get those 3 sales. You know, they could have had 30 or 300 conversations, and they're going to know a hell of a lot more about their product or brand. And it's that testing the market. Like, an idea is one thing, but until it actually hits the market, you've got no idea whether it's going to work or not.
Absolutely. And as an aside to that, you need some cash coming in to get things moving as well. Like, so that, you know, we prove it, and then we've got some cash flow, then we can start to move forward.
There are some businesses that cannot even get to $1 revenue without cash flow. You know, like, and then there's some other businesses which are very surprisingly can get to more than $1 in revenue without cash flow. You know, Virgin Atlantic or Virgin Airlines was started zero money down, because Richard Branson went to all the airlines and said, how much does it cost to rent a jet? And they're like, we're not going to rent to you. You're a nobody. And he's like, no, just tell me, how much does it cost per month? And so they basically, it's like, they pick a figure, $200,000 a month or something like that. He's like, okay. And then he pre-sold all the seats and then said, now give me the jet. And so, because
I didn't know that one. Wow.
There's 30-day terms on a jet. So he basically rents the jet, pre-sells all the seats, and he has an airline with no money down. Obviously, there's some branding and there's some effort that you've got to go to.
Absolutely.
But at that point, he had an audience, he had a brand, he had everything that he needed in order to grow that from zero to something.
So, and he thought creatively. He was curious, right? What if?
And he wasn't afraid to fail. Absolutely, yeah. So I think there's other people that are so confident in their idea, they can't let outside advice come in. They can't let failure come in. And that's not going to work at that launch phase, where you have an idea, but it's not until you socialize it with the world that you can actually figure out whether that is a worthwhile venture to pursue.
This is true.
So, you know, in the launch tier in our community, we talk about this sort of stuff. You know, like things that people are doing for the first time, maybe, you know, building a website, you know, getting a logo, you know, navigating how to set up a company, you know, very, very early stage stuff. And, you know, the things where they should look to help them sell their product, or where they should invest their time to get those first 3 sales, not necessarily, you know, going and building a whole bunch of stuff with them, or, you know, trying to, you know, it's so experimental at that phase. It's not really, you know, much more than that. And I would say the next phase, once you've tested the model, and probably once you're up around that sort of 6-figure mark, once you sort of hit that, you know, you've got enough to sort of say, and you can't purely measure this on revenue, because, you know, there's people that come to me and say, oh, we've got millions of dollars in revenue. I'm like, okay, what business do you run? They're like, property. Cool. So you sell an asset that's not yours and you take a small commission. Your revenue is only the percentage in the commission. So they might only be making, you know, $20,000 a year, even if their revenue is, you know, $1.5 million or something like that.
Got it.
So they have to be turning over top line millions until their cost of goods sold is taken out. And then at that point, their gross profit, right, which is the margin that they actually make, once that is 6 figures, then we can have a conversation. But until that point, now you're just inflating numbers and telling lies with the numbers. So,
which is not cool, friends. Don't be doing that.
Yeah. So, like, if you think about your operational cash flows, you need to have enough to be able to pay maybe yourself a bit of a salary. It may not be amazing to begin with. You need to have enough to, you know, do some marketing, do some sales. You've got enough there to go, you have a business. You have a legitimate business that's not going to, you know, like, you've got time now. You've got the ability to scale and grow. So at that point now, to go from 6 figures to 7 figures, now you have to fundamentally shift from the person doing the work to the person leading the team doing the work. And that takes time and cash flow. And a lot of times people think, oh, well, more money, I'm going to get richer. It's probably the opposite, because you might have been making that salary. Now you have to forego that salary to hire a person to do a portion of your job. So that then takes that first hire is risky. That, you know, second, third, fourth, and fifth are also risky, but less and less so. And then once you get to like 10 employees, now you need a supervisor kind of role. And then there's a pure cost role in there somewhere. It just gets expensive. And probably until you get past the seven figures, and then like the same thing happens, but in more complexity. Now we have to start thinking between 7 and 8. We have to start thinking about working towards an advisory board, working towards, you know, you might have to do some advanced funding to have the cash flow to continue your growth, or to expand in new areas, or to test new markets. And then once you've done that and you've got to your 10 figure, that's when you can probably, you know, hand off to a board and maybe a CEO and maybe something else. I mean, it's all relative, but broadly speaking, those are the sort of phases. So I don't know, like in the community, we've got the accelerate phase for that, you know, 6 to 7 figure. And then from 7 to 8, we've got the up level sort of space. And we've got a few other like sub work groups that help work with each of those adjacent things, you know, like we've got Ascend for like financial acumen, because like you might start, you know, with your 6-figure business trying to get off the ground, but you know, at some point you need to think about paying yourself super. At some point you need to, you know, think about increasing the salary, and then building your own personal wealth off to the side. The business is good. The business should not be your life. It should be a vehicle that you create and then become self-sufficient.
Otherwise, why are we starting these businesses, people? I mean, of course, we're passionate about things, but we want the business to serve us in some capacity as well. Yeah.
So I think, you know, in terms of the trajectory, you know, it's not always clear. It's not always like this phase and then that phase and then that phase. Like, for example, we were talking before we got on camera that you could be $0 revenue and still need significant investment in order to get a company off the ground. So in that scenario, now we're talking about venture capital. Now we're talking about, you know, planning out very specific phases of, you know, spending that money, because sometimes people might get a check for $10 million and you know, like you'd be surprised. You watch Shark Tank and people are getting money. They're getting, you know, like 200 grand or 20 grand for 10% of their company. That's micro pickies in the grand scheme of things. A lot of times investors won't, you know, like the Australian Business Growth Fund, they're a non-dilutive government-backed fund that have a mandate to back Australian businesses to go global. They look for an exit within 5 years. They will spend a minimum check size of $10 million.
Yeah, wow.
So
that's a lot.
And it sounds like a lot, but it goes very fast. Like you might put a management team in, and it'll cost you $1 million. And that'll do
you'd
for
burn through that very quickly. Especially if you're moving quickly, you'll burn through it quickly. Definitely.
But if people sometimes go, yeah, I've got all this money, I'm going to put it in the bank account. But if you don't have a plan to spend it, because they want that money to start doing something to get the return on investment. So you need to go, we're going to spend this much on marketing in quarter Q1. We're going to spend this much on a sales team in Q2. We're going to spend this much on product development and expansion in Q3. You know, like this is the detail that they want, and you actually have to spend it. So you might get the money and then go
nest it.
Yeah. There was
Yeah.
a movie. I think it's called like Brewster's Millions. And he wins $30 million, but he has 30 days to spend it. But he can't buy assets to destroy. He can't give it away. He can only gamble away like 5%. And the whole thing is funny because he actually wins a ton of money. He gambles 5% and wins it all back and then some. But if he spends, because he's like he doesn't value money, and so that his rich uncle says you get 30 days to spend $30 million, And if you successfully do it, you get 300 million.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Cool. And does he do it? Or are we spoiling the movie now?
You'll have to go and watch. Yeah.
I'll have to go and watch. Deal. Even question. What if we go through a particularly difficult time in our business and things go the other way? Do we need, like, what does that look like? What are the challenges and how do we get back?
So a lot of times, there's some foundational things that if you're getting that right, you shouldn't really have much trouble. And so there are some things you can't control, like the market. There are some timing issues. There are a number of factors which increase the risk. But fundamentally, if you're doing the right things in marketing, you're doing the right things in sales, you got a good focus across all areas. Because that's a problem. Like, we're very focused as entrepreneurs, and we try to focus in on one thing too much, and then we forget about this other thing over here, and then that starts to bite us in the butt later.
Yeah.
So
guilty.
Same. Like, if you have outside advisors to go, are you doing enough here? Are you doing enough? I haven't seen this for a while. Or, what are your numbers on this, and this? Are we, how are we tracking? Because if you don't have that, then you don't have as much, sort of stability, or as much, controlled growth. It should almost be impossible not to grow if you're doing all the right things and you have a good product.
Got it. So good product, systems, processes, set yourself up to win, get the foundations right, and then you're solid. And then have someone in your corner that'll sanity check you when you chase the shiny object, right?
Exactly. But, if things go bad, it's just another phase. And ideally, if you've got, people that have gone through that sort of stuff that are around you that can kind of, do not fight dirty, but, like, they know what the levers are in the negotiation. They know, they've been in that area before, so they know what to do, or they know what not to do. And that reduces your risk of things going very far south very quickly. So having those other people, like, I guess being able to bring it to your advisory board to say, what is something that we can do about this particular problem? They're going, have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? Have you thought of that? Because there might be an out, there might be a relationship, an introduction to help solve a problem. There might be, someone that can help you get last minute funding. There might be, someone who, has, I guess, experience with a particular issue that you don't have experience with. Is it a PR problem? We had, we've dealt with political issues. We've dealt with, and by that I mean like blocking of things, not necessarily people running for politics. We've had, financial issues. We've had, I'd say we have had a couple of legal issues, discussed within the community, but all of these require different hats, and if you like, maybe you can't wear them all yourself, so you have to kind of outsource them to other people.
Yes, we do.
Well, I think like what we wanted to, if I recap everything, so launches, figure stuff out. Accelerate is 6 figures to 7 figures and putting in management. Up level is, I guess, it's probably 7 figures to 8, right? So it's advisory boards, funding models, international expansion, and then I guess after that, that's the business side. So at that point, people probably have a pretty good idea. It's still wise to have, go and find someone who's, at the next level above you and try to work in that phase. Maybe once you hit 9 figures, then look for someone that's 10 figures and do the same thing.
Absolutely.
And I think now we're only just
cliche. Right. Well, yes, I know it's cliche, but don't be the smartest person in the room, right? Go and hang out with people that are at that next level. Definitely.
And then, there's some things that cut through all of that. You might want to go faster, or you might have a very specific niche. And so that's where some of those other spaces come in. But broadly, like the 10-figure thing. Sorry, the getting to 8 figures. Sorry, is that's where you need the advisory board. That's where you need the or you might have a board of investors. Now you have a political game to play, just as much as you have a venture capital. And like you go and watch the show We Crashed or Billions, or you have to change as a person, because now instead of the builder, you have to be the wild entrepreneur investor that argues your point in the boardroom, that deals with dodgy behind the scenes games and forces people, like now you have to lead heaps of people and drive with content and, like create a movement. You're no longer tapping away at the keyboard. You are hearts and minds, like
exactly
running
come with me, let's go just do this awesome thing, let's go. Exactly.
So all right, so I think we've covered a lot of that today. Was there anything I missed or anything else we should talk about?
I don't think so. Like, if someone would like to explore the different levels, the different phases we have in the community, where can they find that information?
Join.relevate.com.au. So we've got the online community, and we have people at each of those phases, and we help to move you forward. So if you've got a challenge, you can bring it up in the community, and then we can work through how to resolve that. I know that Kane has had some significant wins in terms of his expansion. I know that Tom's actually picking up and moving in the right direction.
I know. Yes.
And so we've had a lot of wins, and I think that just that perspective can really help shift it. And people that come from the right sort of perspective when giving that advice, it's not selfish. It's we're all better together, and how do we support?
Exactly. And if you're not sure which tier might be a good fit for you, you can always reach out to one of us, and we'll be able to steer you in the right direction.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a wrap. Thanks everybody for watching, and you stay classy.
Catch you next time.